What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I've got another great video for you today, and this is a follow-up to the presentation that I had done back in September about iOS 16, except this time we're going to be talking about iPad OS 16. iPad OS 16 came out earlier this week, and it's something that I've been waiting for, and I know a lot of you have been waiting for quite some time as well. So we're going to talk about the new features of iPad OS 16. I just want to make a note quick that if anybody has not yet updated their device to iPad OS 16, please do so before you follow along with this video. If you already have updated your device to iPad OS 16, then you can follow along with this video. If you're new to the channel and watching this video for the first time, give this video a like and a thumbs up, and definitely subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so that you get notified about all new upcoming videos that we have on the channel. There's a lot of great content up here as well. In addition to this presentation, there's a few interviews, quite a few interviews with many different people, and hope to have some other content coming as well. But let's dive right into the new features of iPad OS 16. The first feature that I want to talk about is the ability to customize the lock screen. We have not been able to do this with any iOS device up to this point, and this is something that Apple has introduced in the latest version of iPadOS and iOS, and this allows us to move things around on the lock screen a little bit, to also add new things to the lock screen, such as widgets and other things. But unfortunately, this particular feature is not accessible for anybody that is running
2:15 p.m. 3 notifications.
iPad OS 16 or iOS 16 using VoiceOver. One of the things that we'll be able to do with this particular lock screen customization ability is we will be able to see things happening in real time. For example, if you are watching a sports game, or if you want to see the latest sports scores, those are one of the things that will pop up on your lock screen. Another thing that pops up right now on the lock screen, if you have something on your lock screen, is the timer. So if you have a timer set, it will actually appear on the lock screen itself. As apps begin to update over time, when more editions of iOS and iPadOS 16 are released, then we will be able to do a lot more live things with the lock screen. But like I said before, this is something that you are not able to customize right now. You're not able to add anything to the lock screen with VoiceOver if you're a VoiceOver user, because this feature is not accessible yet. I'm hoping that it will be over time as time goes on, but we will have to see how all of that works in the near future and see what ends up happening with that. I am using an iPad 9th generation to do this video today, and this is one of the few iPads that still actually has a home button on it. And if you're looking at getting a new iPad that supports iPad OS 16, then this is one of the ones that you can get that still does have a home button. If you have any of the older iPads, like the 2017 models, those are not going to support iPad OS 16, unfortunately. So you will need a newer device to be able to run iPad OS 16 successfully. The next feature that we're going to talk about today is something that's very popular and something that I've actually been waiting for quite some time. And this is the ability to unsend and edit messages. So let's say, for example, you have sent a message to someone that you did not intend to send to them, or you regret sending to them, or the list goes on and on and on about what you really want to do with that message. But let's say, for the purpose of this, this is a message that you didn't intend to send to this person. Well, now we can do two different things with this. We can either unsend the message, or we can edit this particular message. I've got a message ready to go here for us that I'm actually going to be sending to myself that I'm going to demonstrate this feature with. So I need to actually unlock this iPad. And because I do have the ability to use Touch ID still with this one. I have unlocked it.
Messages.
And
Message. iMessage. Text field. Double tap to edit.
I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to type hi.
Cap G. Cap H. Cap H U I.
Now, like I said, I'm sending this message to myself. So I'm going to send it here in a second to myself. But I'm going to pretend like I don't want to send it at all. I didn't mean to send it to myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate the send button. But remember, our screen is split because we're using a bigger device. We're using an iPad. So on the left side of the screen, we have all of the message conversations that we've been entering in. And on the right side of the screen, we have the particular message conversation that we are focused on right now. So let's pretend that there's a big line, imaginary line going right through the middle of the screen, and we want to focus on the right side of the screen. So I'm in the edit field where the message is going to go to myself. So let's verify that, though, by flicking to the left.
O. Conversations. +1. I. Messages. Your iMessage. Hey, I've been using delivered. Heading level 3. Your iMessage. Hey, cat apps. Message. Text field. Is editing. Hi. Character mode.
So yes, this message is going to myself.
Use the
So
rotor to access misspelled words.
sorry, the iPad's
Mentions.
talking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick right to locate the send button.
Send button. Send message. Text field.
Now,
message received from Grandpa space.
all right, so I've sent the message to myself. What I'm going to do is I want to be able to unsend this message that I've sent to myself. So I want to find my conversation.
iMessage, apps, message, Grandpa John. Hi, 2:20 p.m. Today 2:20, your iMessage. Hey, today 2:20, Grandpa John, your iMessage. Hi, 2:20 p.m.
I've located the message that I want to unsend, so I'm going to tap the screen 3 times with one finger.
Reply, hard, button.
And we now end up in a context menu that has
Tap to react to message.
various different options. I'm going to flick right.
Thumbs up, button, thumbs down, button, haha, exclamation, question mark, reply, undo send, button.
And I'm going to double tap on undo send.
Effect, your iMessage. Hi, 2:20 p.m. Message.
So
text
now,
is editing. iMessage.
if we flick to the left,
Apps, camera, messages. You unsent a message. Button.
VoiceOver says that we've unsent a message.
Camera, apps, message. Text field is editing. iMessage. Character mode. Insertion point at start.
One thing that I want to make a note of before we go on to the ability to
words. Space.
edit a
Use
message
the rotor to access
is
misspelled
that
words. Mentions.
this can only be done if this particular person that you're sending this to is either running iOS 16 or iPad OS 16. If you're sending this message to anybody else that is not running iPad OS 16 or iOS 16, or if this is a regular text message, this will not work. So just be aware of that. If you are sending this to someone that is running iPad or iOS 15 or below, if anybody's running anything below iPad OS 15 or iOS 15, this will not work. They will see in their conversation history that you have unsent a message, but it will still be there because you're not running the same version of the operating system. But like I said, this can only be an iMessage. This cannot be a text. So this, unfortunately, is only exclusive to iMessage. Another thing to note is that you only have 2 minutes to unsend a message, and we were in that time frame of the ability to unsend this particular message to myself. So now, like I said, if we looked in the conversation history, which we just did, we saw that the message was unsent. So it's as if that I didn't even send the message. Now let's talk about the ability to edit a message that we've sent. So let's say, for example, we're making a list of groceries and we have milk, bread, and butter on there, but we want to add eggs. Now, I'm not going to make a grocery list, but I'm going to dictate this, and you're going to hear something that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But you're going to hear that the dictate sound has changed, and we'll get into that a little later on. So I'm going to pick up the iPad here, and I'm going to dictate something. How are things going today? Question mark.
Inserted. How are things going today?
So you hear that the dictate sound is a little different, and we're going to get into that here shortly in just a second or two. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this message, but this time we're going to edit this message. We're going to edit the contents of it. So we're going to add to this message, but we have a little more longer period of time to be able to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this message in a second, but also we have up to 5 times to be able to edit this message. So we're going to go to the right-hand side of the screen where this conversation is.
Messages. You want camera, button, apps, message, text field. Is
And we're going to flick right,
send, button,
and we're going to double tap on send.
send message, dictate, button.
Now we're going to flick to the left.
Cat W. Converse, Barbara Will, Josh John. Message. Tab, cam, messages. Grandpa, you unsent a message. Grandpa, your iMessage. How are things going today?
Now
2:24
I'm going to
PM.
tap the screen once, 3 times with one finger.
Reply. Heart.
And we now end up in that context menu again, and I am going to
Message.
flick right till we hear edit.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, question, reply, undo send, edit, button, text field, is editing. How are things going today? Character mode, insertion point at end.
Now, kind of using that same example of
Messages.
adding to a
My
grocery
message.
list,
Hey, I've been using cat space.
we're going to use the same example of adding things to a list. So we're going to add to this message. We're going to double tap the screen to dictate. Things are going very well, period.
Inserted things are going very well.
Now, we're going to flick to the right.
Cancel edit. Button.
So we have 2 options. We can either cancel this edit and not make any changes at all, or if we flick to the right again,
Send edit. Button.
we're going to send edit.
Message. Text field. Is editing. iMessage. Insertion point at start.
Now,
Use the rotor to access misspelled words. Mentions.
because, like I said, I am running iPadOS16 and I'm sending this to myself, all of my devices have iOS16 on them, so this is going to work. Now, if we want to edit this again, we can do it 4 more times before we're not able to do it. But you have 15 minutes, like I said before, to edit this message. If you wait past that 15-minute window, you're not going to be able to edit the message any longer. Another feature that I want to talk about today is something that unfortunately I am not able to demonstrate, but if you have an iPad that is able to do this, such as one of the Pro models, one of the newer Pro models, this is something that you'll be able to do, and it is called door detection. And what this will do is if you have it turned on, you'll have to perform a 4-finger triple tap with 4 fingers to be able to turn the magnifier on. But what it will do is it will actually describe to you what's around you. It'll describe the type of door that you're going in. It'll describe the type of handle that the door has, as well as a lot of the different things that are in the room itself. And it's actually pretty scary that it can do that. I actually did hear this feature being demonstrated when this software was still in beta form, but if you want to explore door detection, you're more than welcome to do so. And if there's any other questions, definitely feel free and drop them in the comments below, and I will definitely answer them the best I can. But like I said, this iPad unfortunately does not support door detection. There are newer versions of the iPad that do support door detection. So if you do have one, or you're planning on getting one that supports door detection, you're more than welcome to take a look at that particular feature. Now we're going to talk about a couple of things with relating to VoiceOver, and the first one is additions to VoiceOver voices. So I'm going to use Siri to open settings, open accessibility settings.
Settings.
Now, typically I don't use Siri to do these types of things, but I'm doing it just because we're doing a video right now and I want to get to as much content as possible. So using the same analogy, because the screen is split, we're going to go on the right-hand side of the screen.
If you prefer lift cat Actions in fade in app. Your iPad appear. Lift accessibility. Back button.
And we want to get out of here because we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Accessibility. Heading. Vision. Voiceover.
So we want to double tap on voiceover
On. Accessibility.
because we're going to talk about
Voiceover. Voiceover.
all of the
Speaks on.
different
Tap once to double tap. Learn more. Voiceover practice. Speaking rate. Speaking rate. Speech. Button.
voices here. So we're going to double tap on speech.
Voice. Voiceover. Back button. Speech. Heading. Voice. Samantha. Button.
And we're going to double tap on voice, and this is set to Samantha right now.
Voice. Speech. Back button. English. English. US. Agnes. Alex. Allison. Ava. Bruce. Eloquence. Button.
Now, if we double tap on eloquence,
English. English. Back button. Eloquence. English. Eddie. Flo. Grandpa.
you have all of the eloquent voices that all of us have heard for so many years using JAWS, or if you've used WindowEyes before they discontinued it, you have heard these voices as well. Or if you're an NVDA user and you've been able to get eloquence to work with NVDA, you've heard this as well. So we're going to flick over till we hear read. Now, if I double tap on read, it's going to change it. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to talk about one more thing that is in the voiceover settings. So I am going to navigate to the left.
Voice. USA. Twitter. Button.
Here we go.
Shelley. Sand Rock. Read. Grand. Flo. Eddie. English. Eloquence. English. Us. Eloquence. Heading. English. Back button. English.
Here we go.
Eloquence. Button. Bruce. Alice. Alex.
So these
Button.
are some of the additional voices in addition to the ones that we've heard for so long.
Agnes. English. US. English. Heading. Speech. Back button.
So we're going to get out of speech.
Speed. Voice. Samantha. Button. Speech. Heading. Voiceover. Back button.
And we're going to go back one more time.
Voiceover. Speech. Button.
And we want to flick over to verbosity settings.
Braille. Voiceover. Verbosity. Button. Punctuate. Voiceover. Back button.
And one of the things that we're going to talk about is the ability to customize punctuation even further than we've been able to in the past. Because in the past, we've only been able to set it to some, none, most, and all. But now we can make even more changes. So we're going to flick to the right.
Verbosity. Heading. Punctuation. Button.
We're going to double tap on punctuation.
Active verbosity. Back button. Punctuation. Heading. Edit. Button. Active punctuation group. Some. Button.
So we have active punctuation group. We have some.
System groups. Heading. All. Button. Some. Button.
And we're going to flick to the right again.
None. Button. Custom groups. Heading. Group 1. 0 replace. Group 2. 0
Until we
replace.
get to
Button. Group 3. 0
new
replace.
group.
Group 4. Add punctuation group. Button. Selected. Alert. Initial punctuation group.
And it now wants to know what we want to associate this with. So we're going to flick to the right till we hear none.
Choose a all, some, none.
And we're going to double tap on that.
Numbers punctuation. Back button.
What this allows us to do is we can substitute things. We can have this set up so that whenever it sees a number sign or a period or a comma, it won't say that. But if anybody wants to explore this because there's a lot to it, you're more than welcome to do that. But for the purpose of this video and this particular thing that we're talking about, we're not going to waste too much time on this because there's a lot to it. So if anybody wants to actually really go forward and explore this on their own, you're more than welcome to do that. Another feature that I want to talk about is also in accessibility, but it's in hearing. So we need to get out of the voiceover settings.
Add punctuation group. Button. Group 2. Group some. Active edit. Punctuate verbosity. Back button. Punctuation. Button. Voiceover. Vertical scroll. Voiceover. Back button. Voiceover. Verbosity. Button. Voice. Braille. Speech. Speaking. Voice. Learn more. Double tap. Tap one. Voice. Accessibility. Back button.
And we want to go
Voiceover.
to
On.
hearing.
Zoom. Hover. Display. Motion. Spoken. Audio. Physical. Touch. Switch. Voice. Home button. Apple TV. Keyboard. Hearing. Heading.
So this is a heading called hearing, and we're going to flick over to the right until we hear live captioning.
Hearing devices. Sound record, RTT, audio and subtitles and live captions. Beta button.
Now, this feature is currently in beta, so we're going to double tap on this.
Live catch accessibility. Back button. Live captions. Beta. Live captions. Off.
So this is turned off, but we're going to get a bit of a helpful hint here.
Appearance button. Your iPad will use on-device intelligence to automatically display captions across all apps. Accuracy of live captions may vary and should not be relied upon in high-risk or emergency situations.
So what this will do is it will use live captioning across all of your apps. So if you need this particular feature, you can turn it on, but VoiceOver just gave us a disclaimer that it should not be used in emergency situations. But this is something that you can turn on if you need this particular feature, and it will give you live captioning. But also note that it may not be very accurate either. It can be, but it may not be at the same time. The next thing that we're going to talk about today is improved dictation and the ability to have it insert punctuation as we speak. I have a note open, so I'm going to access the app switcher.
App switcher, dock, messages.
Here we go.
Settings. App switcher, settings.
I'm going to close
Active.
settings.
Closing settings. App switcher, messages, notes.
And I'm going to
Hello.
open the note.
Notes, notes, note, space.
Now, as many of you know, in past versions of iOS, when you're dictating something, you actually have to use punctuation and insert punctuation to end a sentence or to put a comma in or a period or something like that. But now, one of the things that's new in iPadOS 16 and as well as iOS 16 is the ability for Dictate to attempt to insert punctuation as we speak. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to use Dictate. I'm going to double tap with 2 fingers on the screen to start dictation. And remember, the Dictate sound has changed as we just demonstrated a little while ago when we were sending a message back and forth and editing and changing something. So you're going to hear that again, but this time I'm not going to use punctuation, and we're going to see what happens. Hello. I am currently doing a video on the new features and accessibility of iPadOS 16. It is extremely important that I do not attempt to insert punctuation while I am dictating this message. I'm hoping that if I pause enough times in a way that it'll be able to do so, that this will work successfully.
Here inserted. Hello, I am currently doing a video on the new features and accessibility of iPadOS 16. It is extremely important that I do not attempt to insert punctuation while I am dictating this message. I'm hoping that if I pause enough times in a way that it'll be able to do so, that this will work successfully.
Now, there were some parts when we tapped the screen again with 2 fingers where it worked and where it didn't. So if you feel comfortable inserting punctuation when you're dictating, you're more than welcome to do that, but you don't have to do that. But be aware that this is a feature that may work sometimes and this may not work sometimes. Another feature that we're going to talk about today is something that's new to iPadOS 16, and this is the ability to hang up a phone call using Siri. If you're on FaceTime with somebody and you want to hang up that call. My iPad is not set up right now to be able to do this, so I am actually going to call myself and demonstrate this feature on my phone. So let me do that. One thing that I want to note before I do that is you have to make sure that Hey Siri is turned on, as well as call hang up in Siri settings.
2:37 p.m.
So I'm calling myself.
Incoming phone call. No caller ID. Incoming call. No caller ID.
Hello?
Answer call. Notes. Note. Text field. Is editing. Hello. I am currently doing a video for the space.
All right. So I'm going to demonstrate this feature. Hey Siri, hang up. Now, The different thing here is that the person on the other end hears you doing this. So
Monkey wrench might dictate.
the person on the other end, of course, hears you doing that. So if you tell Siri that you want to hang up a phone call or a FaceTime call, you will be heard on the other end of that phone call doing that. So just be aware of that. If you're telling Siri to hang up a call, whether it's a FaceTime call or if you've got calls on nearby devices turned on and you're on the phone with somebody and you tell your iPad to do that, then it will be heard on the other end. You also need to know that you need to have one of the newer iPads. The older models won't work. So if you have the 9th generation and many of the other new ones, this is something that you will be able to do. You will actually be able to tell Siri to hang up a phone call. Another thing that we're going to talk about today is the new Siri sound. And we heard it once when we were doing this, but we really didn't hear it too much. So I'm going to ask Siri a question. What's the temperature outside?
It's 55 degrees right now.
So we're going to do that again. What's the temperature outside?
It's currently 55 degrees.
So it says it's 55 degrees. I'm going to ask Siri one more question. What's the low for tonight?
The low will be 41 degrees Fahrenheit tonight.
So you have heard that the Siri sound has changed. So if anybody was used to the old Siri sound, that has changed as well. I'm sure many of you that were running iPad OS 15 were used to that kind of more high-pitched sound that Siri made, and they've changed that actually quite a few times while the software has been going through its different paces. So just be aware that if you are going to use Siri on your iPad, that the sound is just a little different than what we're all used to. And I actually like the new Siri sound much better. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the new Siri sound. The next feature that we're going to talk about today is the ability to schedule emails to be sent later using the Mail app. So I'm going to be back in a couple of seconds. I'm going to get an email ready to go that I'm going to send to myself, and I'm going to schedule this later at a later date to be sent. So I will be back with all of you in just a minute while I get this email queued up. We are back, and I've got an email already queued up for us that we're going to talk about how to schedule an email to be sent at a later date. So I've got an email that I'm actually going to send to myself. So I'm going to locate the send button.
Show sidebar. Mess subject. John CC's to send button.
Now, what I'm going to do differently this time is I'm not going to double tap on the send button. I'm going to tap and hold on the send button. Now this means that we are now in a context menu with various different options. And what we're looking for is send either later or tomorrow.
Show sidebar. Send later button.
So we have a couple of options now that we flicked left.
Send 8 a.m. tomorrow button.
We have send later. We have send 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Send 9 p.m. tonight.
9 p.m. tonight.
Send now button.
Or send now. So what we're going to do is we're going to flick to the right here because we were flicking left.
Send 9 p.m. tonight.
And I'm going to double tap on send at 9 p.m. tonight.
Alert. HIL.
Now what it's doing
I am forwarding to you the HIL. Send later.
is
This message will be sent at the scheduled time. This device needs a network connection then to ensure delivery.
it's telling us that it needs a network connection to ensure delivery. So this iPad has both Wi-Fi and cellular connectivity ability. So we will actually be able to send this message later. So what we're going to do is we are going to flick right one more time
Okay.
to the OK button.
Okay. Message content. HIL. I am forwarding.
Now, we're going to locate the Done button.
Message header. From. More. Compose. Button. Show sidebar. Go up. Button. Shows go down. More act. Reply forward. Button. Archive. Button. Message. Has attached unread. Show side. Go up. Go. More act. Reply all. Button. More actions. More actions. Message 8. Art for more go show sidebar button. More actions button. More actions but message content. 8 for period 8 to view this message more compose move archive for reply more go show sidebar go up go more reply for arc move compose more but message header more button move art for more go show sidebar button.
So now what happens is this message is going to be sent tonight at 9 p.m. The next feature that we're going to talk about is the ability to undo
More actions button.
the sending of a message. So I'm going to get another email queued up here. I will be right back with you in about a minute. We're back once again, and I have another email queued up and ready to go that I'm going to actually send to myself this time. But we're going to talk about how to undo the sending of this message. So we're going to send this message now.
Cancel. Test message send button.
Now, very quickly, we're going to go to the bottom of the screen.
More actions. More action. More act. Message period. More actions. But more actions. Button. More action. More actions. Period. 8 for more options. Visit period.
Now, because there's a message selected, unfortunately, we won't be able to do this. But if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll find an undo send button. If you double tap that button, it will undo the sending of that particular message. You only have 30 seconds, actually 10 seconds, to undo the sending of the message. However, if you were to go into Mail and undo send delay and change that, either turn it off or change that, you can change it all the way up to 30 seconds or turn the feature off where it won't give you that time constraint. Then you can undo the sending of the messages all you want. The last thing that I'd like to talk about now are a couple of other features of interest. And a couple of features that I want to talk about now are the ability to mark a message conversation in Messages as unread. So I'm going to unlock the iPad.
Doc.
Here we go, and I'm going to open up the Messages app.
Doc. Messages. Messages. Message. Text.
I'm going to find.
Barbara will. Yes, we definitely had it on Wednesday. 10/14/22.
Now, let's say that I want to mark this conversation as unread. So I want to do that. I'm going to flick up.
Drag item, delete, open and hide alert, mark as unread.
So if I double tap on this, it'll mark this whole conversation as unread and give me the ability to make this conversation unread. And then I can respond to it, of course, at my leisure. Another thing that you can do now is you can also, when you're in an email or you're in the Mail app itself, you can actually set up a message to be read later. So you can actually go in and set a reminder for that so that it will allow you to say, hey, I missed the ability to read this email, and I want a reminder sent to me to read this message at a later date. These are all of the new features of iPad OS 16. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this presentation. If anybody has any questions about any of this, please feel free and contact me in the comments below. Or if you'd like to contact me in any other way, you may do so. You may contact me in the comments below. And You may also reach out to me on Facebook and various other social media platforms if you have me on there. But also, like I said in the beginning, if you are watching this video for the first time, please give this channel and this video a like and a thumbs up, because that is how YouTube gets the word out there that there is new content available. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you ring the notification bell to be alerted of all new and upcoming content. Once again, if you have not updated your iPad to iPadOS 16, please make sure you do that. And I hope that everybody will enjoy this new experience of iPadOS 16. And I hope that everybody will, if you have questions, definitely reach out to me. Until next time, everyone, peace out, take care, and have a great day.